That's not a big deal, you know. Uh, I mean, I tried to help the family. Her father was a kind of anyway, and I would, I would help him out. I would just help him out. She knows that. She knows he would come around all the time, and But anyway, this thing about fitting all this together and surviving one trap after another. Now, this is not only African Americans. I don't care whether it was uh, in South Africa, they tried to set me up with a lady, And see, first of all, the way they looked at it is this. Here's a nigga with ethics. And that's one thing that we can't stand is a Negro with ethics. And his ethics are superior to ours. You know what I mean? Because see, if you ain't got those faults, then they don't have nothing to pick at you. So the government have been using all the dummies, and I mean real live. The world don't see them as dummies. The world see them as very smart and intelligent and everything. And they're not that. That's the game they playing, okay? That's the game they playing. They can play whatever the game they want. But whatever it is, they just don't have the ethics. I remember one of the Malcolm's grandson took Malcolm Shabazz before he got beat to death down in Mexico. He took Baya allegiance to one of the guys in California. And he used to teach at a school down there. He came to our Masjid all the time. He went over to Iran a while, studied a little bit about Shiism. So he became the day I saw him, I knew he was the police. He was draped in a flag, hollering about Imam Hussein. I said, yeah, that boy, that's police. Well, I just wasn't wrong. He acted like that. That's what he, anyway, this same guy, last time I saw him, he had a Malcolm X program, February about 3 or 4 years ago. Fact is at UC Berkeley. He was teaching a class on Malcolm X, of all things. And, all the tattletales, and remember, the government got everybody placed. We're like a modern miracle. That's just everybody is in pocket. They in pocket. It don't make no difference. This is my belief, and I have yaqeen. That means it's a high level of certainty. That means I'm certain about this, not because I tested it once or twice or 4 or 5 times. I've tested it over the years. I've had almost 50 years of constant testing each and every theory that I have dealt with. Because you owe it to people not to just fly off the handle and say, that's the police. Well, it sounds like that, because that's usually what I'm going to wind up, that's police there. That's okay. But the police don't have any other option. They're a criminal organization. United States government is a criminal organization. They behave like a criminal organization. They've treated the people like a criminal organization. They have depressed and destroyed and fought against every freedom, every liberty that's guaranteed in the Constitution. That's what they have done in America and outside of America, internally and externally. Okay? So we've been, I would say it's been at least 50 years since we've We've accepted that. That's, yeah. Heck yeah. This is, shoot, that would be back 50 years ago, would be 72. Sure it would. Yeah. Yeah. No doubt about it. By the time we left America in 71 and survived all that fitna of the 60s up till leaving in 71, hey, I would say we learned, evidently we had to learn something or we wouldn't be here. Nobody else is here. Nobody else is saying what we say. So either we're liars, big liars, and you could prove it, or we might be telling the truth. It's not no whole lot of different things. Either we're telling the truth and have had the ability. I was thinking about it today. I said, man, because just being a Muslim, you take yourself as normal and little activism type thing. But when you look over what you're dealing with, it's not normal. It's not normal. It is the. I mean, and we would sit here and talk about it. Yeah, the serials, the episodes of Imam Musa. What's the next episode going to be? And that's how it be coming. Whether people see it or not, or whether it doesn't make a difference. Those episodes are real. A few simple episodes. In 1990, they had the drug busters in New York, and the government was all behind it, and they made the Negro Imam up there, that was his whole card. That was about 1990, 89, 90, 91. And all of immigrants was having him speak on those things, and he was saying, he talked to Stanford, and brother, the main drug dealer there in New York, talking to me, said, Imam, you're interfering with our business, and we have to have some type of cooperation to avoid a confrontation. And that same person went to Hajj with me last year. The nigga just lies so bad. It just so. First of all, drug dealers don't talk like that. And if you interfere, you're getting in the way too much, you'll just be sprayed away. Yeah, talking about New York too, and Brooklyn, they just spray you away. But they never put any of our stuff on them. Masjid al-Islam, drugs and their effects. Drugs and their effects on the individual, on the family and friends. When we're having this is April 86, May 86. On the community, May 11th. Drugs as a means of exploitation and control of the black community. Who is the real victim? That's May 18th. What can we and what should we do? Okay, so this is an analysis now of how drugs get there. It's several years before that. You never hear anything about that. That's an analysis and a platform. Okay. With a program behind it to address those problems. They get all the publicity and they get on the news and they're marching up and down the street with police and correctional officers. I said, first of all, you can't get black people with you if you got the police in your, but that's what they wanted to push. They pushed it. It worked with the foreigners and other people, but black people know if the police is in it, hey, man, you got correctional officers going along, and you say, hey, man, no, I don't want to. Right. That don't look right. You know what I mean? In other words, But they give them the publicity and they give them a platform and they make it seem. So anywhere we was, they come and they give somebody, they give it to them. Okay, so now we can't get mad at them for doing that because that's what they do. That's the government's job to do things like that. Okay, so and this thing about the hadith about the greatest challenge I leave behind for men is women. Okay, so I don't care, every spy movie, everything that you look at is women, right? Nice looking women usually. Okay, so what about a Negro that's like 10, 15 years and more celibate? And you can dangle the woman trap in front of him and he don't have no effect. Hey, that means when you can defeat that ego problem or reality, you're 90% home, because that's the greatest thing he have to use. Okay, you take the girl, they dangle that, it don't work. Oh, well, good God, what are we going to use? Okay, we'll try to scare them. That don't work either. It make them even more, because it's obvious, like, it's not a big deal because everything they've been dealing with me personally is obvious. Because if it's underground, subliminal, I'm going to play like I don't see it anyway, and that's going to make them mad. So everything they do is, not everything, a lot of what they do is on the surface. And it's not only here, it's in South Africa. They try to trap you with, most of the people I was Indian, and the main trap was, this is a half Indian, half white lady, and with a Muslim name. Oh, hey man, look, I'm gonna tell you, when I'm at the Masjid in the 80s, everybody come through. Older guys come through with their younger sisters, and so it'd be some of the Fiji people, they're like Indian, and they had that hair down here, all the way down here, and they don't look too bad either. And I'm just bringing my sister by, and Iranians be bringing Iranians by, or they be calling on the phone, and so they get frustrated because they throwing everything at you, and then one thing about it, everybody watching, and they're getting frustrated too. They're getting mad at you for not biting at anything they throw out, they bite at it right away. You don't bite at nothing. That's all a blessing from Allah. It's a blessing from Allah. It has a little bit to do with maturity and breaking the rules, because if the rules say this, well, I can't do this over here and break the rules. If the rules say no girls unless you're married, that's just a rule. Now in Jahiliyyah, that ain't no rule. So they might have been dumb enough to think that, okay, what worked in Jahiliyyah, we slip a nice little tender here or there. Well, in the Jahiliyyah, that's your ego. You're just like somebody in a movie. You do the stuff that people do in the movie. A beautiful spy woman, right? And they drop on you, you just automatic. But when you become a Muslim, see, practicing Islam is a full protection. It is a protection. So you say, I can't do nothing. I remember they used to have so many women calling at night. And my son, when he was younger, we would sleep in the same room in the masjid. and we had the telephone was one of them pay phones on the wall in the hallway. So late at night we'd get calls, and so one lady calling, she says, there's a famous model of those days. Her name was Imam. Imam. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And was she Ethiopian or Somali? Something like that. Something like that. Yeah, yeah. North African, Northeast African. So she was telling me, uh, uh, they're telling you some problem they have, want you to help solve. And I look like Imam, and da 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 da. Well, good for you. And well, let me tell you about my vagina. So I said, sister, you can't be telling me about your vagina. And so my son is there. He's 16 at that time. Dad,